last 67 years. This is a clear message that the people do not want to live with India. The people want to, they have already addressed their wishes where they want to go. Now on Pakistani side, we don't have any problems on Pakistani side. The Kashmiris have their own government, they have their own elected prime minister, they have their own elected running. It's not an occupation, it's not a civil war on this side. No, so this is a clarity which the international community must understand. As far as the UN role is concerned, UN role without any enforcing power is going to be useless, is going to be a talk shop. And Kashmiris and people of many generations, I think it's their third generation, they are fed up with this ping pong of talks, and there's no results out of it. If they really want to solve this issue, and if the Indians really want to move on and want to play an international role, they need to understand that these people have their history attached with India for thousands of years. They're not going to go anywhere if they give them a relief, basically, and let them breathe. They are living under special legislation. They are ruled by the central government. They do not have the same facilities or same kind of constitutional powers as any other part of India has. Now India's problem is that they have about 13 other separatist movements going on, and they are so insecure that if let Kashmir go, the other movements are going to follow up. This is not going to happen because Kashmir is not a separatist movement. Kashmir issue is a long-standing issue which India needs to resolve as they promised in the UN Security Council. The other movements happening in India for secessionist or separatist movement, they have nothing to do with the Kashmiri issue. And this is something which get a mixed match when they do the negotiations. They talk about both sides. The foreign ministry spokesman clearly said that we cannot bomb on the other side because we have our own people living on the other side. This land has been occupied, and we are fighting an occupation.
If I could just come in here, Mr. Qureshi, I want to go to Mr. Brodowski. Mr. Brodowski, I want to, of course, give you the chance to respond to the criticism Mr. Qureshi put there forth of what you said. And secondly, I wanted to also put this point forth. Many people talk about the militaries in both countries, India and Pakistan, and their respective powers in their countries, and say that the militaries of both countries actually want this issue to continue unsolved because it gives them both a reason to exist with the amount of power and money and budget that they get on a yearly basis. How do you respond to such criticisms as well?
Well, there may be some truth to that. There are military problems in many countries. I think there's a particular problem in Pakistan with the military. There have been rumors of a coup. I hope and expect they're not true, but they're out there. There are stories about corruption of the government of Prime Minister Sharif. Again, I can't judge them, but they are out there as stories. And there is a sense, certainly among many neutral observers, that the military in Pakistan has a lot more influence, and it's not clear to observers who is actually making the decision, the prime minister or the military. But what I want to do here is to avoid the kind of name calling. I understand my colleague here has strong opinions, and I understand people in both sides have strong opinions, from India and Kashmir and Pakistan. But I don't want to get into the 100,000 million year discussion of my side is always right and your side is always wrong. We have to put an end to the killing. We have to stop the danger of a military escalation that is very real right now as we sit here. There have been too many wars between these countries before, and the only way I can think of putting a brake on it is to bring in an outside, internationally respected, high-level negotiator, a negotiator with respect by people in Pakistan and in India, someone with credibility on both sides, that is accepted by both sides and is recognized around the world. And in terms of observers, obviously the observers should observe on the Pakistani side, on the Indian side, on the Kashmir, wherever they think they need to observe, they should observe without any limitations. We have to have some calm reason here. I think that the selection of Prime Minister Modi offers an opportunity to begin this anew. I say again, he doesn't have a perfect record on this, but he's a good man who has tried to reach out, and he should be given a chance. And I would urge the Indian government to make the first move, because I think his position in India is stronger than Prime Minister Sharif's position in Pakistan for reasons we've discussed. But most important, let's stop the name calling, or we'll bore everybody in the audience by spending another 100 years calling the same old names with the same old result, and the poor civilians in Kashmir of whatever nationality will keep getting killed. We have to stop the killing. We have to stop the escalation. And I would call for an internationally UN-appointed mediator and negotiator to try to calm everybody down and begin a real discussion.
Okay, let me just get in here. Let me put that point to Mr. Qureshi, because I'm sure Mr. Qureshi has a response to you saying that Prime Minister Modi is a good man. I'm sure there are a lot of Pakistanis who would argue against that. Mr. Qureshi, I also wanted to add this in here, if I may. Prime Minister Modi has said that Pakistan, and I'm quoting him now, will not dare to repeat it again, in his opinion, violations of the ceasefire. And he said that our Jawans or our troops have shut their mouth. Is it possible for Pakistan to negotiate with such rhetoric?
Well, I think I'm really appalled by the comment from my colleagues. He's calling Mr. Modi a good man who's a killer. He's a murderer. He's got a warrant and summons from a U.S. court for his role in killings in Gujarat. I mean, he's running a mindset which is inspired by the mentality of Hitler. And he's probably going to be visiting Israel soon. And I don't know how two things are going to match. With the leader who's inspired by Hitler, he's visiting Israel. And I don't know what kind of relationship and how they're going to match it up. On the issue of having a UN negotiator, I said earlier on, there is a UN Security Council resolution already exists. The UN Security Council members needs to enforce that resolution, and they, instead of inventing a wheel again, we're not asking to invent the wheel, we're asking to use the existing legislation which you already have, apply that to the both parties, and differentiate between the occupying and the occupied force. This is very, very important. And the problem with the UN is then when UN want to resolve the issue, when they go to Palestine, they behave like that the Palestinians have occupied Kashmir or Palestinians have occupied Israel. This is not the case. We need to differentiate between the victim and the perpetrator, and then we can move forward. This appeasement of perpetrators is not going to help at all. And even if it takes 200 years, it doesn't make any difference. The important point is the point of law, the point of international law, the point of the ethics and morality. Morally, the Indians have killed more than 100,000 people who are living under occupation. Now, it's their responsibility to protect them. Pakistanis are not going into Kashmir and killing them. Is they because they're their own people? They can't do that. So this is something which needs to be understood. Now, if my colleague is calling Mr. Modi a good man, I mean, I'm really, really surprised by this kind of...
We just have under a few minutes left. I do apologize, Mr. Qureshi, for coming in. I wanted to, Mr. Qureshi, stick with you and ask you about this military issue, because there are a lot of people who are suspicious of the Pakistani military, for example, and say that it needs the Kashmir issue to remain legitimate in the way it has power and money and budget. How do you respond to that in just under a minute, Mr. Qureshi?
That is absolutely not true. Indian forces... I think more than 70% of the Indian forces are posted on the Pakistani border. Pakistan's problem is the siege. We have been occupied on one side, then on the other side we have Indians in Afghanistan interfering into Pakistani areas. Now it's the Indians who needs to understand that as soon as they let go and release their forces from this area. Now what issue they have with Pakistan? Why they have occupied all their forces on the eastern border? And as far as Nawaz Sharif is not Pakistan. Nawaz Sharif is a prime minister who is playing very cool at the moment, trying to play very cool. But again, his friendship and his relationship with India is not going to help, because Pakistan is not going to take this, any bullying or any harassment or anything of coming from India, because obviously it's the people who are living in the same region for a very long time, and they will not tolerate this kind of behavior. Even if the nuclear or the conventional armed forces, it's very important for a country, for its security.
Okay, I do apologize, Mr. Qureshi. We are fresh out of time. I do apologize for that, and unfortunately, I do apologize, Mr. Brodowski. We couldn't come back to you, but we're just going to, before signing off completely, we're going to go to our viewer comments. A lot of the viewers have been sending in their comments, of course, about this very sensitive topic. Let's listen to those comments, please.
We are neither Indians nor Pakistanis. We are Kashmiris. We don't want to stay with anyone of either of you. We came to know everything on the days of floods. We were expecting a lot from both the countries, but we were fools. India and Pakistan both want Kashmir, but they don't even like Kashmiri people. They just hate us. The issue of Kashmir should be decided according to the UN resolutions, but unfortunately, UN resolutions are not effective where US interest is not there. India occupied Kashmiri's land. India is a terrorist country like Israel. Let Kashmiris decide what they want. India is not allowing foreign aid here. The reason is simple, and most people are supporting the freedom struggle. We Kashmiris respect and love Pakistan, but we want independent Kashmir. Go India, go back. Let the people of Kashmir decide their fate by the right to self-determination that India has promised with the same people. The majority will decide the future of Kashmir.
Again, those were just some of our viewer comments on this very heated topic. Let me thank our guests who joined us for this edition of the debate from London. We were joined by Mr. Shahid Qureshi, who is a writer and analyst for the London Post. And we're also joined from Washington by Mr. Brent Badowski, who is a columnist at the Hill newspaper. Gentlemen, we do appreciate both of you joining us for this edition of the debate and your insights, of course. And viewers, we do appreciate you joining us as well and your insights and comments as you posted it on social media. Till next time, good night.